Welcome to the Main Basketball Rankings Podcast. I am your host, basketball data nerd Lucas McNelly. We just did one of these like 2 days ago, 3 days ago, but we're doing one again because some stuff happened. Um, Still no resolution. Still, I haven't heard any new information on this fight in Portland, and I'm recording this on Sunday evening. The artists formerly known as the Redskins are, I think they're driving, or is Tampa Bay driving? I don't know. Somebody's driving. I've kind of had this on in the background, and I lost track of my day with the Celtics. Nice Celtics win, crazy end to that win, but kind of lost track of my day. And then I was like, oh, wait, I was going to do this podcast, and then I had to get prepped, and it's been a whole thing. So if I seem a bit harried, that's why. So there were two big things. We're going to do the top 10 for boys and girls here in a minute, but we had two things happen. First of all, one's a good one. The Wiscasset girls won a game. 122 straight losses for them, for the Wolverines. 2,941 days between wins. Their last win was on December 22nd, 2016, beating a team coached by friend of the podcast, Jared Richmond. And I know Jared loves that he is somehow dragged into this. But these are the things that happen, Jared, and oh well. So it'll be someone else's problem next time they win a game. Hopefully it doesn't take so long. I wrote about this a little bit in the newsletter, just how long ago that is, how long of a losing streak that is. Barack Obama was president. David Bowie died that year, and that was sort of the year where people went, maybe David Bowie was holding it all together, because it's kind of all fallen apart since David Bowie died, and things have just gotten weirder and weirder and worse. Moonlight won Best Picture. Chance the Rapper won 3 Grammy Awards, which I think we can all agree that will probably not happen again. It was craziness. So they won on Islesboro, and if you get the Lincoln County News, Mick LaBelle traveled. He got the idea to travel with them to Islesboro, get on the boat, do the whole thing, just to sort of document what it takes to go play these island games. And he got lucky. He got the big win. He was thinking, he's like, I think this is the one that maybe they might, if they're going to win one, this would be the one that I think maybe they could win. And let's see if I get this right. I'm going to mispronounce this name. Zoe Morse hit 2 free throws in the final minute to break a 21-21 tie. Michelle Farron added an extra one with 4 seconds left, and they won 24-21. And I reached out to Coach Dan Wall just to ask, what does this mean to this program? Because holy cow, that's a long losing streak. And he says, these girls have worked hard all season, worked on every aspect of the game, from ball handling to half-court press. They've never given up. All these girls want to do is play hard and be recognized. This win has done that for them. 100-plus games in the loss column takes a toll on you. Yeah, I would think. Breaking that streak for these girls is going to help them being more confident when we work hard. Breaking that streak for these girls is going to help them being more confident that when we work hard, it pays off. Tonight we celebrate. Tomorrow we work even harder. So congratulations to the Wiscasset girls for snapping the 122 game losing streak. So awesome. And what I thought was really heartening is when this sort of went out on Facebook, it's like everybody, it was like an overwhelming level of that's so cool. I don't think you see that ever with a team winning a game where just everybody around the state's like, oh, that's so awesome. So great. Let's move on to Saturday's game of the day, which was interesting. Now, some people who may or may not be John Duke questioned the game of the day being Lincoln Academy at Spruce. He said there's so many good games today. There's Oceanside Camden, which is where I saw him. I went to that, and that was fun. There was Falmouth and Noble, which turned out to be a really good game. He's like, how could Lincoln Academy and Spruce live up to all of that? Well, I'll tell you how. By this. That's EJ Hunt with the bucket off of I think that was a Terry Welly miss, and he hit that with 7/10 of a second left to give Spruce Lincoln Academy the lead. If my audio changed a little bit in the middle of that, it's because I realized that my headphones were not plugged in, and I was just wearing headphones that are not plugged in, and it's 11 o'clock at night. So these are the things that happen. Um, all right, and they're gonna go kick a field goal, I think here. The Commanders. I can't get used to this Commanders thing. It's like it's the Redskins. It's the artist formerly known as the Redskins. Whatever. Okay. So Lincoln's done, right? No, we're not done. We're not done because there's 7/10 of a second left, and I haven't gone back to watch the full tape, but I have no idea how Spruce managed to get a timeout with 7/10 of a second because a lot of refs would have just said, well, that's it, because the clock keeps running, and not heard him call Scott Bessie call for a timeout or even paid attention to him or whatever. So kudos to Scott for getting the timeout. And here's where it gets even more interesting. If you are just listening to this, oh, they kicked the field goal. Okay. So Washington advances. So if you're just listening to this, it's slowed down. I put the EJ. So what happened was I put the EJ Hunt shot on Facebook, and then Scott's like, "What about the rest of the play?" And I said, "What rest of the play?" And he sent me this, and it slowed down. So you're gonna get the sounds. So if you're just listening, my apologies, but yeah, here we go. Wait, let me make sure I'm doing the right. Oh, I almost played the wrong clip. Here we go. He almost makes the shot, which is what's crazy. Um, so if you're just listening to it, what happens is they're running the baseline. Spruce has a kid come in and screen the guy guarding the throw in, knocks him over. Spruce wants a foul. They throw it deep to Kai Dower, and Kai Dower almost makes the shot. So the first time you're looking at this, you go, "Oh, that's a foul," and then I ask follow up questions like, "Are you guys in the bonus?" Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Watched it a bunch more times, and I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So then I sent it to some refs, and let me bring that up so I can see get this right. Ref number one, the screen was legal, and though the contact was hard, it appears to be incidental, which I think is a key word here. Other ref, the screen was legal. The kid didn't see the screen. Legal contact. Just because the screener ended up on the floor doesn't make it a foul. It was much closer to being an illegal screen than a foul on the defender. And so I asked some follow-up questions. And the reason for that is he doesn't really give him, if you watch the clip, doesn't really give him enough time to avoid the screen, which, as we all know, you're supposed to do. So it's not a foul. It's a good no call, which makes sense once you look at it a few times, because you can run into a screen, and if you get knocked over, okay, and it is incidental contact in that it's not impeding his ability to throw the ball, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think there's an element to it where the ref's just not going to call that because you're essentially ending the game, or you're essentially giving a team the win and going all Peter Webb All Star. And so, from that perspective, I think it's a good no call because, as I'm very strongly on the record as not liking it when the officials dictate the end of the game, let the players play the game, and so on and so forth. What I think, though, is that it's a really smart play call, a really smart thing for Bessie to draw up, because accepting that it's not a foul, and these are two very smart officials who would know, and they have the luxury of being able to watch the clip over and over again and not doing it in real time when it's a little more difficult, to make a call like that. So having, they're smart enough that they're going to be able to get it right on a video clip like this. So we'll accept that it's not a foul. But I think we can all agree that there's a not 0% number of refs in the state who would have called that a foul. and sent Spruce to the line with a chance, with two shots to and a chance to win the game at the line. I think we can all agree that there are people who would have called that. Um, yeah, there are some refs who just don't seem to call anything anymore, which was fun in the previous Lincoln Academy game I watched, where there was just assault going on in both sides and nobody was calling anything. There were like four straight block charges where they just didn't blow the whistle. Um, but I think there's, a good number of refs who would call that there. So if you're looking at a point 0.7 seconds, you got to go the length of the floor, you got to hit a shot. That's a pretty much you're hoping for a miracle. And if you can drop a play like that, that gives you let's say it's a 5% chance that they call it, that greatly increases your chances of winning the game. So I think it's a really smart move to try. There's absolutely no downside unless the kid hits his head on the floor and gets a concussion. That's really the only downside to the play if someone gets hurt. So kudos to Spruce for one, getting the timeout, drawing up a play that increases your chances of um, of getting the W, getting some points, getting the pass all the way there. Because so often in these, you just see the pass get knocked down and that's it. And they got a clean look and it just didn't go in. And hey, these are some great battle testing games for you for going into the tournament. And this is part of why Spruce wanted to open up their schedule from MVC, is to get more games like this and get them better prepared for the tournament. As for Lincoln Academy, I think this is a really, really impressive win for Lincoln Academy. And I was someone who in the preseason, on this podcast, on other podcasts, said, basically, I've heard from Lincoln Academy because they lost so many people. I think they lost 5 of their top 7, something like that. I think, yeah, 5 of their top 7. They lost all their scoring, and that's a lot for a team to lose. And previous to that, they had been like 1-17. So Lincoln people had said, yeah, we're gonna stay in the mix. And I went, all right, maybe, because usually you don't in that situation. There's teams that can just stay in the mix no matter what they graduate, and that's a very short list. And so I was skeptical that they would be able to do it, that they would be able to replace that much scoring. And they seem to have done it. They seem to have pulled it off. They're not, I don't think, going to get the 2 seed again, but they certainly don't look like they're going to fall all the way out. So I will mea culpa and all that. So let's look at what this does for B South in the tourney odds. It ran this like a half hour ago. All right. So here we go. We've got Madomic and York. They're virtually tied in the heel points right now, but Madomic's played 1 fewer game. So they've got a pretty good edge to get that 1 seed, 80% to 18%. And then Spruce could still get the 2 seed. They're probably the 3, making it interesting. Lincoln's going to need to beat Oceanside to have a shot at the 3. And those also in the heel points right now are very, very close, 3 and 4, Lincoln Academy and Spruce Mountain. So this loss might not hurt Spruce Mountain nearly as much as it would seem at first blush. It does take out the 2 seed opportunity for them unless York just completely falls apart. And then Lincoln looks like they've got a pretty good handle on the 4. It doesn't look like they're going to drop any lower than 5. So if they could beat Oceanside, they could maybe make a run at the 3 seed, which would be very impressive considering all that they've lost. But a 4-5 is still real good. And then, the Oceanside loss to Camden on Saturday doesn't help them. They could drop down to 6, it looks like, maybe to 7th, probably not. And then you got the play-in teams. You got your Poland, your Levitts, your Lake Region, your Wells, and yeah. So that's the tourney odds for B South. This is where I remind you that the tourney odds are now on the website, and yeah, they get updated every couple days, and when I get time, they get updated every day. So yeah, so anyway, this is also where I remind you to subscribe, do all the things. So let's do the top 10. All right. This just got updated too, hot off the presses. Let's do girls first. We actually do the top 15, but we'll just run down the 15 through 11. Number 15 is South Portland. Number 14 is Gorham. Number 13 is Edward Little. Number 12 is Cheverus, and number 11 is Caribou. So you got a nice little cluster of AA schools there. Cheverus, of course, has had a pretty rough go of it lately, and they drop all the way from 1 down to 12. I think they were 1, not last week, but maybe the week before. Okay. Number 10 is Spruce Mountain. They move up 1 spot. They're 10-1. They're plus 178. This week they beat Oak Hill 64-35, and then they won at Lincoln Academy 48-34, which was Zach Keen's 100th career win. Congratulations, Zach. Their percent perfect is 79.3%. That, if you're new here, percent perfect is the percentage of the available points to you for the power rankings that you've gotten. And it's a whole thing. But basically, the higher your percent perfect is, the more dominant you are relative to your schedule. So they're 8th most dominant relative to their schedule in the state. Up next this week, they're going to Maranacook, and they have Lisbon. They will beat Lisbon by a lot of points. Number 9 is Madomic Valley. They move up 5 spots. They're 9-2. They're plus 92 on the season. They beat Levitt 60-43. They beat Morse on the road 49-24, and they beat Yarmouth 41-18. They're 3rd in strength and schedule in Class B. Up next, they're traveling to number 25 Erskine, and then they have Winslow at home. Number 8 is Marshwood. They move up 1 spot. They're 10-1. They're plus 179. They beat Wyndham on the road 62-32. Then they won at Brunswick 53-50. Brunswick still, I don't think, at full strength. I think they're still down 2 starters. Marshwood is 8th in the state in scoring at 57.9 points per game. Up next, they have York, and then they travel, that's the big one, at Biddeford. Number 7 is Coney. They move up 3 spots. They're 10-1. They are plus 145. They beat Nokomis 68-31, and they beat Brewer 61-44. They're 10th in the state in scoring at 57.2 points a game. This week they will travel to Messalonsky, and they will travel to Mount Blue. I would think they would win both of those. Number 6 is Marina Gloucester. They dropped 3 spots this week. They're 10-2. They're plus 195. They beat Westbrook 48-38, and they beat Greeley 46-18. Why do they drop 3 spots? Because those teams aren't worth very many points. And you got to keep pace. You got to stay up with everybody else. They have a percent perfect of 72.4%, which is 3rd best in Class A. And this week they have a big one at Mount Ararat. Speaking of, Mount Ararat is 5th. They move up 4 spots. They're 8-2. They're plus 178. They beat Deering this week 47-41. They also beat Brunswick 47-41. I just wrote the same score down twice, so one of those might be wrong. I'm not going to look it up. And the big one, they beat Biddeford 48-45. They are 7th in strength of schedule. And they have this week, they're going to head down to Greeley, and they have the big one with G&G. Number 4 is Oceanside. They move up 8 spots. They're 8-2. They're plus 160. They beat Brunswick 65-33. That's doing the bulk of the work here for that, moving them up 8 spots. They won at Levitt 61-39, and they won at Camden 61-54. And I was there for that one. They are 6th in the state in scoring at 58.1 points a game. This week they will head to Winslow, and they will host Lincoln Academy. Number 3 is Lawrence. They drop 1 spot. They're 11-0. They are plus 337 points in 11 games, which is nuts. And that's not first in the state, by the way. They won at Skowhegan 70-43. I'm sorry, that's my apology. They won at Scout Vegas 70-43, and they won at Nokomis 73-34. Their percent perfect is 95%. That's 3rd best in the state. I think Valley is first, if I had to guess, without looking it up. They are idle this week, so they will probably drop. So don't yell at me if you drop. I think they do have a rescheduled game, so that might be this week. So if they do end up playing this week, I think they have a game that has to be rescheduled. Number 2 is Oxford Hills. They drop one spot. They're 9-2. They're plus 167. They won at Lewiston 51-41. That one's a little closer than I would have thought. Then they won at South Portland 34-29. They're third in strength and schedule in the state. And this week they will head to Portland and they will host Cheverus, which could be a really good one, especially if Cheverus can get back on track. Number 1 is Biddeford. They move up 3 spots. They're 8-3. They're plus 141. They beat Kennebunk 65-31. They won at Massabesic 55-27, and then they lost at Mount Ararat 45-48. So that's a small note there. Losing at Mount Ararat, that's going to adjust a little bit so that's going to get pretty close to a 50-50 because of home court advantage, and the model adjusts for home court advantage. And let's look it up, see if I can get it, bring it up real quick and see what that did kick out as. Apologies as I look through this. What did I just do? Oh, I'm on the wrong sheet. Okay, so let's find this game. Biddeford and who did they play? Mount Ararat. Okay. Apologies. Mount Ararat, Biddeford. There we go. That ended up going 57-42 in the split. So, okay. A little more than I would have thought. Anyway, Biddeford has played the 9th hardest schedule in the state. That's part of how they are up there with those 3 losses. And I believe those 3 losses are by not very much. Let's see. Let's bring this up. Super professional podcasting here. Biddeford. All right. So they have a loss. They lost to Brunswick and they lost to Sanford. And yeah, those are 2 pretty good losses. Okay. So, hey, they're number 1. They'll probably, I would think they'd probably drop because they've got Marshwood this week. And even if they beat Marshwood, there's only 1 game versus everyone else is going to play 2 or 3. Okay. So running that down, we've got number 15 is South Portland. Number 14 is Gorham. Number 13 is Edward Little. Number 12 is Cheverus. Number 11 is Caribou. Then 10th is Spruce Mountain. 9th is Madomic Valley. 8th is Marshwood. 7th is Coney. 6th is GNG. 5th is Mount Ararat. 4th is Oceanside. 3rd is Lawrence. 2nd is Oxford Hills. And Biddeford is currently number 1. Let's go on to the boys. Let's bring it up here. Number 15 is Lincoln Academy. Number 14 is Hamden. Number 13 is Caribou. Number 12 is Mount Abram. And number 11 is Spruce Mountain. So the top 10. Number 10, Thornton Academy. 8-2. They're plus 98. They move up a bunch of spots. I didn't even write down where they were last week. They beat Edward Little 52-46. They beat Sanford 62-51. And big statement win. They beat Cheverus 61-49. They are 4th in AA in scoring at 61.6 points per game. This week they'll have South Portland and Portland. Number 9 is Cheverus. They dropped 4 spots. They're 8-2. They lost to Thornton Academy 61-49. They do though lead AA in point differential. This week they are at Sanford and they have Oxford Hills at home. Number 8 is Brewer. They don't move at all. They're 10-2. They're plus 151. They lost to Hamden this week, 44-50, and they lost at Coney, 60-68. Their percent perfect is 72.6%, which is first in Class A. And this week they will travel to Camden Hills, which will be an interesting matchup. Number 7 is Messalonsky. They're 10-2. They're plus 60. They beat Mount Blue 48-37. They beat Greeley 45-43. They have the 15th hardest strength of schedule in the state so far, and this week they will travel to Augusta to take on Coney, and they have Gardner at home. Number 6 is Falmouth. They move up 1 spot, only 1 spot. People are thinking they should have maybe moved up more than 1 spot, but it's 1 spot. They're 9-2. They're plus 117. They beat Westbrook 60-49, and the big one, they beat Noble on Saturday 54-51. They lead A South in scoring at 59 points a game. Up next, they have Wyndham. That'll be good. And Gorham. That'll be less good. Number 5 is South Portland. They dropped one spot. They're 9-2. They're plus 97. They had a big win against at Wyndham, 55-54, and they also went to Oxford Hills and won 55-52. They have the third hardest schedule in the state so far. This week they will go to Thornton Academy and they will host Deering. Number 4, York moves up 2 spots. They're 12-0. They're plus 216. They went to Lake Region and won 63-54. They beat Freeport 63-46, and then they beat Kennebunk 48-39. They are first in the state in percent perfect in games against teams currently in the top 25, which is a good stat to be number 1 in the state, because that means, when the games get harder, you get better. They have Marshwood this week. Number 3 is Wyndham. They dropped 1 spot with the loss to South Portland. They're 10-1. They're plus 161. They lost to South Portland 54-55, and they won at Marshwood 68-62, and they won at Scarborough 73-70. So a lot of close games for them this week. They lead AA in scoring at 69.9 points a game this week. Big one at Falmouth, and then they have Bangor. Number 2 is Madomic Valley. They're number 1, or they move up 1. I can't even read my own notes. They are 11-0. They're plus 293. They won at Levitt 71-31. They beat Morse 83-32. And they won at Yarmouth, which was a game some people had circled. They won that one 57-45. And while I'm at it, let's just play this clip. I put this clip in here, and then I decided not to use it, and now we'll use it. So they are third in the state in points allowed, which is hard to do in the bigger classes because it's usually a Class D thing, the points allowed, So they're third in points allowed, 37.7 points allowed per game. And here's one reason. We're just going to play this clip. Here we go.
You want some quick hands. There's a boy's some quick hands.
He sure does.
Rocco
almost threw it away.
Over to Donlin. Donlin does throw it away. Oh, what a block! Holy smokes! What a block!
We ain't seen that before.
I hope we got a replay of that one.
We ain't seen that before.
What a block!
It's incredible. I hope I weren't going down in the replay. Oh, they couldn't even call that one.
All right, that was against Morse. That's Gabe Lash with the block shot, and that's how you give up 37.7 points per game. Thanks to Larry Seidlinger and LCTV for the use of the clip. This week, Madomic will play Erskine, and then they will go to Winslow. Number 1 is Noble. They're 10-1. They're plus 130. They beat Scarborough 63-46. They lost at Falmouth 51-54. Same kind of idea with the Biddeford loss. It's they're going to get quite a lot of points out of that because Falmouth's worth a lot of points. They have a percent perfect of 80.8%. That's first in Class A. And this week they will head to Massabesic. And they had a bit of a lead, so that was part of it too. So there's your boys' top 15. Lincoln Academy, Hamden, Caribou, Mount Abram, Spruce Mountain. And then the top 10, Thornton Academy. Number 9, Cheverus. Number 8, Brewer. Number 7, Milwaukee. Number 6, Falmouth. Number 5, South Portland. Number 4, York. Number 3, Wyndham. Number 2, Madomic Valley. And number 1, Noble. So that'll do it for that. I think we're going to call that a show. Let me bring up the thing. This has been a production of MaineBasketballRankings.com, your source for the most comprehensive coverage of Maine high school basketball from Ashland to York and everywhere in between. This podcast is available wherever you listen to podcasts and a bunch of places you don't. If you enjoy this, please leave a nice review because it really does help with all the algorithmic nonsense. Tell your friends. Tell your enemies. Thanks for listening.